I was just going to ask you, what makes you qualified? But you kind of built your credibility a little bit there. So.
One, two, three.
Coming up, we're talking to the co-founder and CEO of Bonsai Robotics about their new product launch at FIRA this week and all things integration with FarmNG.
The Modern Acre is presented by Corteva R&D, the research and development engine of Corteva Agriscience. Corteva is a global pure-play agriculture company that combines industry-leading innovation and high-touch customer engagement to deliver solutions for the world's most pressing agriculture challenges. Corteva's global R&D teams are dedicated to advancing science and technology for modern agriculture, tackling challenges like climate resilience, pest and disease pressure, weed resistance, and sustainable productivity. Through world-class research, Corteva R&D is pioneering solutions to shape the future of agriculture. Their robust pipeline is laser-focused on delivering differentiated products and lasting value to help farmers grow and protect their productivity now and in the future.
All right, Ty, it's mid-October, which means
It's FIRA.
It's FIRA time. It's always the kind of like end of harvest, the first trade show of the fall. Excited to be back this week.
This is great timing to get Tyler on the podcast on FIRA week to talk all thing ag robotics. Tim, you're going to be there on Wednesday on a panel. Tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, doing a panel 9:15 on Wednesday, talking all about robotic weeding, basically talking on a grower panel about kind of laser weeding versus mechanical versus see and spray, and just kind of talking through pros and cons and experience that growers are having, kind of leveraging the various robotic weeding solutions. So excited for that. We've demoed a lot on the farm this year. We've tried a bit of all, tried all those different avenues and have some thoughts. So excited to kind of chat through with some other growers.
I was just going to ask you, what makes you qualified? But you kind of built your credibility a little bit there. So.
Know enough to be dangerous.
That's the Modern Acre motto.
Yeah.
Well, be sure to check out Tim's panel. Make it the most attended panel, 9:15 on Wednesday, and feel free to swing by and say hi to Tim. He's always looking for a cold brew. So if you want to be Tim's best friend, just hook him up with a cold brew.
That'd be great. Last year, I don't think they had any. Just hot coffee is not ideal.
I am not intentionally avoiding FIRA. I've never been. It's just how the cookie is crumbled. I haven't been able to make it happen. Now I have a newborn. It just wasn't in the cards this year. But next year, FIRA 2026, look out.
Put it on the calendar.
All right. Well, I'm excited to dig into this conversation. We've had Tyler from Bonsai on the podcast previously, but at FIRA, they're debuting a new product platform, and they acquired FarmNG earlier this year. So we get into that new platform, the integration with FarmNG, how he's thinking about growth and scale as an ag tech CEO. This was a really timely conversation. Obviously, a ton of new updates from the company that we're excited to share with you. So hope you enjoy it. So let's jump into the conversation. Hey, Tyler, welcome back to the show. Good to see you. Good to have you here.
Great to see you guys. It's a pleasure to be back. Very excited for the conversation.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on. Special week this week. It's day one of FIRA. I know you're going to be at the show. Maybe talk to us about kind of the approach for FIRA this year. You've had a lot of news over the past year.
Yeah, most definitely. It's an exciting year. FIRA is kind of the central location for all ag robotics companies to show up to in the California and United States region. And this is a really exciting year for us because we're very much going outside of just what we've been focused on, which has been big tree crops, right? And autonomy for adverse GPS denied conditions. And really, with the acquisition of FarmNG, which we're very excited about, going into the other side of specialty crops, right? So it's kind of the whole range of the long tail problem of specialty with strawberries, embedded crops, and caneberries. So at FIRA this year, it's a very exciting year where we have our Bonsai Autonomy and our Bonsai Pilot. Bonsai Pilot's our app and interface, and we're debuting 3 new Amiga robots, the Flex, the Trax, and the Max. So we'll be able to still, apply autonomy at the farm level on the AR500s, doing spraying, mowing, sweeping. But then with these new platforms, you can do harvest assist, You can get into strawberries. You can do spraying, mowing, weeding applications in this other spida specialty, caneberries and other crops. So we really now have a platform and the software to really change the form factors for agriculture and meet growers where they're at on existing farms to really enable the whole farm autonomously with better data. Really exciting time.
I wish I was going to be at FIRA to obviously see everything that's happening. Tim will be there, I think, on Wednesday. But I mean, Tyler, you mentioned some of these new releases. Can you actually walk us through in a little bit more detail, like what these form factors are, the use case, just kind of level set, and how these new form factors are kind of a step change?
Yeah, 100%. So the first one is the Flex. It's the upgraded version of the current Amiga V6 platform. So it's a small modular, 2 to 4 horsepower robot. There's about 250 of the V6s out in the world today. And this is the upgraded version. It has fail-safe braking. It has new controls. It has better batteries. It's designed with more configurability built in. And more importantly, all these robots have the Bonsai pilot and Bonsai autonomy stack. So A to B planning, collision detection and avoidance, the ability to teleop, and run our full global planners. So if you have a farm and you need to do an application, you can do it. The next robot is the Trax. This one I'm really excited about. It's a low-cost, high-horsepower robot. You can use it to transport a bin, use it for harvest assist, but also really focus in on those applications of spraying, mowing, and herbicide spraying and weeding, right? So this is more centric around, I would say, table grapes, some caneberry applications, and some of those side of specialty. And then the third is the Max. The Max is our... We had this at last year where there was a prototype version of it, but it's a hybrid electric platform, high clearance machine, 4-wheel steering that can go into strawberries. So we have a 3-row electrostatic strawberry sprayer on it. And with all these platforms, it's not just about labor replacement. There's a huge advantage in reducing your CapEx and OpEx with these platforms and running these robots that can be quiet on the farm. It's pretty exciting.
A lot of exciting stuff, Tyler. Maybe just talk us through a little kind of background on the FarmNG deal. Obviously, you made the announcement earlier this year about the acquisition. Maybe talk to us about kind of the background there on like why you believe this was a valuable asset to bring into the Bonsai ecosystem.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're currently, and we've been seeing this shift on the farm to some degree from iron to software. And to really like do that, you need 3 things. You need a screen and an operating software, and then you can unlock this on the farm, right? And really have this farm where you can farm and have intelligent smart machines do it. The 3 things you need are a simple and usable app to really run the interface through. You need the ability to run on the existing fleet. Tractors aren't like cars, right? They last for a long time. The tractor is always going to be a key piece of the farming operation. So to be able to make 80 to 90% of that job autonomous is huge. And that's what we have with our OEM partners right now, like OMC. We have this AR500. It's a 200 horsepower tractor, and it can do all the tractor functions. But additionally, there's this third opportunity, right? Which is to really reimagine form factors based on autonomy. All these machines have always been built around an operator, right? Tractors got bigger and bigger and bigger to be more efficient with one operator in the cab. And with autonomy, you don't need that, right? I think you still need size. You still need volume, right? You still have to be able to do the job efficiently. But you can really not only nail on the labor costs, but CapEx and OpEx too. So if you reduce the machine cost and can do more with less there and also reduce the operational expenses, I think it's a huge win. And that was the reason for FarmNG. They had this platform. They had really, really good hardware to enable to do this. And we've been so centric as a software company around autonomy, we were able to combine the two. It's really hard with the capital in ag tech to build this like perfect autonomous tractor and all the software at 99% reliability. So we've been coming at it at different ends, and it fundamentally made sense to combine to build the ultimate product for the grower.
I can imagine in your seat, this is such a big problem, this space, and it's so multifaceted. You're dealing with hardware, software on a farm. It's so much to manage. Like, how do you even think about, from an organizational perspective and a strategic perspective, how do you think about growing the org? And when you obviously made this acquisition, how do you manage where to invest your resources as a startup that has limited resources, where to put your time and attention, your resources to scale? As a big question.
Yeah, right. It's an interesting challenge because you're so focused and centric around product features and getting the product features to a level that's acceptable to a grower. And then you start deploying, right? And like, that's where it all matters, right? Like, in truth, like, growers don't care what AI model's running on the machine, right? They care that they can use it through an app and interface with it and that it works, right? And the hard part about all this is like, there's amazing tech, there's all this stuff you can use, but like, how do you integrate your platform onto the farm? How do you integrate into their workflows? How do you get the adoption and buy-in? So as you scale, right, there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into supporting the grower and making sure you understand what is needed from a product, right? And that when something fails in the middle of Australia or here, that you can support them and make sure they're up and running and can complete the job being done. So I think we're at a transition, right, where we have really good products. We're still scaling it up, but now it's time to really put the gas on the commercial side of this organization, which is really an exciting time for us.
Yeah, adding in some additional complexity of the business, and you're obviously scaling internationally. We talked about Australia before the call, so maybe talk to us about kind of the approach there, getting outside the U.S. and scaling up in Australia, and how that's going, being based on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's been super exciting. You know, when I started Bonsai, I wasn't expecting Australia to be as big of a hotspot as it was, in full transparency. But this year alone, we have over 60 machines in Australia, running. And the big sweet spot, we have shakers, OMC shakers running for harvest. We're gearing up for another one. We have Flory V-sweeps, which have our vision assisted steering. But the big thing we've spent a lot of our time on is the OMC AR500, which is a 200 horsepower autonomous tractor, right? And in Australia, there's such a big demand. There's big farms. Labor is a much worse problem than in the States. And, these farms have to run, especially in these temperate climates where there's so many passes per year, and autonomy just makes so much sense. So we're seeing a big adoption of these autonomous tractors out there, which is really exciting for us. In addition, we have about 250 Amigas out there and a good fleet of them in Australia as well. So it's nice to see the broad spectrum of, small robot assistants on the farm doing these little tasks, in addition to these, big tractors doing big jobs, operations with, 3,000 hours of operation per year. It's been a fun year.
How are you thinking about just the business model, and obviously like making sustainable margins for you as a company while providing value to the grower? Obviously OEM partnerships. Like, has your thinking evolved on kind of pricing and business model?
My thinking's evolving on how I'm pricing the hardware aspect of the business right now, because that's a whole new feature. But we're like, our system, we spent a lot of effort and time. I know I just say the AI doesn't matter, but it does matter to my gross margins. And it was a good choice on that aspect, right? So, from a software perspective, we're still pretty locked into the subscription pricing model. We try to come in lower than others, right? And really let them maximize their ROI on it, because we've taken an approach that is cameras and works like a human. We're able to do that and keep the margins, good. On the hardware side, we're definitely thinking through this, right? Like, one of the interesting concepts with the hardware piece of the business, without a seat or a cab or anything, right? It's like, you really need the software to make this thing work, right? So can you get creative in how you price and structure things, right? Does hardware plus SaaS actually make sense, right? When like the software is the driving factor, and these machines are really vessels for the software. Like, that's how I really look at the future going forward right now. It's like all these platforms that don't have a seat, and I think a seat is a necessity after a certain amount of horsepower. But these smaller platforms, right? They're running a software system, and the hardware is the vessel to that software. So I think you can get creative on how you price those. And I don't want to share what we're thinking through yet, because it's not finalized, but I think that's a nice little caveat to add in there to discuss.
Tyler, you mentioned some of the value drivers of the value prop of like why autonomy is important, the efficiency gains on the farm. We're obviously in a kind of a challenging farm economy. I feel like a lot of crops are depressed or challenged right now. So maybe just talk to us about kind of what the grower sentiment has been around it, kind of adopting technology, what the pain points are, and how you kind of manage that as a company, being in kind of a downturn in the ag economy, how you kind of push through as an ag tech company.
I think autonomy is a hard sell, in a lot of cases, especially in the States right now, because the value and ROI has to be there very quickly and it has to work. I think that's a key piece of everything. I think why people are buying autonomy is because like all of a sudden you're able to see these operational swings, right? Where it's not just, hey, we're just replacing the person in the cab. One of the big advantages to the OMC AR500 we're selling is it's actually a shuttle truck, right? So a shuttle truck for almonds, you use it for 45 days of the year. It transports the nuts out of the field somewhere around $200,000, right? And then it parks for the rest of the year. So growers are really intrigued because they could buy a 3-point hitch for a fraction of the price of the tractor that bolts to the back, right? And all of a sudden it's a power plant that turns into a tractor and saves the $130,000 purchase. So that's one big up we have in this spectrum. But when you add in autonomy, right, it's a whole nother play, right? We're able to not only do a 10-hour shift, right? There's no emotion on the machines. The machines break less, especially when you're in these adverse conditions. But you really, like, we've been running some studies and we're able to really increase how many hectares per acre we're doing and then increase the utilization too, right? And run it for much longer than the 10 or 12-hour shift, which is really exciting. Like some of these flashers, so we're running, the biggest flasher we're running is a 8.3 meter wide flasher, which is a mower in Australia. Instead of flail mowers, everyone's using flashers in 9-meter wide rows, right? And they're running these machines for 18 hours a day, right? It's a pretty awesome operation to really go after. So growers are seeing the ROI, right? And I think some companies that were really early in autonomy have proven that to them, like Gus, which is has been awesome. So it's truly a product that's saving people money right now, which is an exciting turning point, I think, for this industry.
100%. It's super interesting. Tyler, I want to just dig into kind of your role as CEO founder of how you're navigating raising capital and scaling your company. You raised a big round earlier this year. Obviously, the market is strange right now, and I think there's this kind of negative perception of ag tech investment right now. How are you thinking about kind of getting to the next level? Is it ultimately raising another round once you hit certain metrics? Is it getting to profitability? Like, talk us through your general thinking there.
Yeah. So, I mean, my general thinking is I think it's a really interesting time because it has been super difficult for companies to raise, but there are success stories, right? Like, and there's some companies that are absolutely crushing it right now, right? Like, I think, you look at Carbon Robotics, Eco Robotics just did a very big raise. Like, there's real businesses being built. And that's super exciting for me because no matter what the market dictates, if you build a real business and have real metrics and have people buying stuff, like, and it makes sense with a good margin, that's what matters, right? So I think that it sucks that it's difficult for ag tech companies to raise and it's a more challenging environment because it's such a big problem. We all care about it, right? Like, spent my whole life in ag. You guys grew up in it, right? It's like one of the most, if not the most important problem to solve in the world, right? And but I do think that the core concept of being centric around building a good business with happy customers will be great. We're not raising right now. We've had a pretty good year from a revenue perspective, and so we don't need to. But we are planning to have a pretty substantial year to go after the next fundraise with a larger TAM and great metrics ultimately.
Tyler, getting back to the FarmNG, maybe just talk us through kind of like the acquisition happens, how you can merge these two companies. Like, how do you think about that as CEO of kind of combining teams and messaging and kind of like aligning the company on kind of this new joint shared vision?
Yeah, good question. So it was unique because like I kind of felt when I looked at both these Bonsai and FarmNG at the time, now we're one, we kind of were like two puzzle pieces, right? And we had key features that others didn't. Like, we were super deep on the app and autonomy and, the data collection for AI, right? And FarmNG could build like any product in a day. Like, we could go from CAD to powder coated production quality product in a day and build the PCB boards and the harnessing. Like, it was pretty amazing. So I feel like culturally it was a pretty good fit too, especially because the teams are very hardworking. They're very brilliant teams. So and I'd been through a couple of integrations at Deere with Blue River and then some acquiring companies. So I had a little background and, could see how to make things go well. But so like what we did, right, is we have the Watsonville facility where production happens, where we can go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 very, very quickly, and then scale up. We outsourced parts for the 10 to 100 and 1,000. And then software is now all combined. So the one thing we did was we have one brain, one compute stack, one autonomy for all robots moving forward, which was like a big, I would say, hard decision to make, but I think it was the right one. It required more work, but having one software team really kind of made things move a bit quicker, which was an exciting time. And then I think, on the business aspect of things, we brought over a chief revenue officer from Farm and G, who's been a huge value add, and had some other very good key people that are helping us build the business on the leadership side. So it was really a great fit for us to go quicker and take on a bigger scale of the market and really go for it. We think there's a huge opportunity here with good autonomy and in specialty with micro tractors through, retrofits of existing machines.
I want to dig in on, you mentioned integration, having some experience in this. Let's dig into that a little bit. So how are you thinking about integration, both from a kind of marketing perspective? Like, will these remain two separate brands that are collaboratives? You could speak to that. And then also just the team, how you think about team integration and how that's gone. Obviously, I would imagine that's not always easy, right? To bring two teams together, even if they're synergistic at kind of a strategic perspective, how you kind of bring these teams together.
Yeah, great question. So maybe first off, we are Bonsai moving forward. We're, updating all our marketing, branding, and whatnot. The Amiga product line will still stand. So it's like Bonsai, and the Amigas are our mobile UGV platforms ultimately. And we'll have the Amiga Flex, the Trax, and the Max right now. From a team integration, right? Like the first big thing we did, and we had previously worked and put our app on the Farm and G robots. But first thing we did was like one software team to really go after this problem, right? And take all the learnings and we have a new brain and that really helped, right? Because it was driving towards one common goal. And, in a 2.5 month period, right, we have same autonomy on all machines with new compute, same models. So it's been a really exciting and big push for the team. And it's really shown that we've been able to get integrated well and quickly. So it's been exciting on that front. I think from the leadership and sales side, it was just a perfect fit, and we're moving forward on that as well. So,
Tyler, you mentioned AI kind of built into the product, but maybe talk to us about your thoughts as CEO on like internal use of AI. Like, how are you advising the team how they should be using AI, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think both on the product side and internally, we are pushing so hard on AI. It's such a nice helper, and I think you can really turn a 10x or into a 100x sometime if you set up these processes right and have agents helping you write code and doing all this stuff on the internal side. So there's a big push, especially from my co-founder and CTO, to do this. And he's built a lot of these internal products himself because he sees the value in ad. I think externally, we're going very into AI. We've implemented a new model, which is a transformer-based model that will be released on all these robots. So it's literally one model for all crops, whether it's an open field, a strawberry field, a lettuce field, and it's temporal based, right? So it's not just single frames at a time. You know what's happening in real time. It's really exciting. And then we also have a small end-to-end team right now, which is doing some very exciting research work. Gary Bradsky's leading it. He's our chief science officer. He created this company, OpenCV, and won the original DARPA Grand Challenge. But I think there's some really unique things you can do with end-to-end. Generally, end-to-end autonomy has been centric around manipulation, but you can apply it in very creative ways around the farm that aren't, picking a fruit or something as well.
All right, Tyler, as we kind of wrap things up, what else is kind of exciting you right now in the space, in agriculture? What else is on your mind these days?
I mean, I know I hit on this earlier, but I'm very excited for the first time that there's big real businesses with real revenue being built in ag. It's hard, right? Building a company as ag is hard. You generally have one sales cycle per year. The robot has to be perfect. Like autonomy in ag, there's at 99%, it's still not good enough, right? Like you're competing with an operator doing 12, 14 hours a day. So to see real revenue and real companies be going at it, like I bet there could be some IPOs in ag, and like we could really see this shift in this industry in the next 3 to 4 years. It's really exciting to me, right? I've been doing this my whole career. I got to work at Blue River early and see like what technology could bring to the field. Like I remember seeing the first lettuce thinner, and it was 18 consumer grade desktop computers thinning lettuce at 4 miles an hour. It was like the most marvelous piece of technology I'd seen in my life in agriculture. And, that was like the start for me. And now to see real businesses being built off, what started there. And I think we're going to see a shift where there are these big opportunities and big outcomes, which is really exciting to me in this.
Totally. Well, appreciate you coming back on, Tyler. If you're at FIRA this week, definitely stop by the Bonsai booth and say hi. Other than that, Tyler, how can listeners get in touch and connect with you and Bonsai?
Yeah, check us out at bonsairobotics.ai. We have a new site coming out at FIRA too, so it'll be revamped, and really excited for what the future holds and for us to be able to provide platforms and autonomous solutions to growers that need it. So.
All right, Mr. Panelist at FIRA, what is your takeaway from the conversation?
Good to catch up with Tyler, and like always fun to hear these stories of an acquisition happening and kind of the inside baseball behind the scenes on kind of what led up to it. And then like equally as interesting, like how you integrate these companies where you're bringing two teams together, two different cultures, two different kind of thoughts on technology and how you kind of integrate the people, the technology, all of that. So it was super interesting just hearing about how they're doing that and kind of the scale at which they're doing it, like talking about their expansion internationally, how many units they have in the field to manage was just impressive to catch up with Tyler and hear all the latest updates.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you are all enjoying your time at FIRA. Be sure to say hi to Tim, and we will catch you next week.